Hi everyone, it's Pina here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this coaster for a cup. You can use it as a coaster, you can use it as a sort of something in the kitchen like a pan, sort of surface protector, hot pans, hot drinks, anything, but it's good to use as a cup, a coaster. I've made this one in a lighter colour so you can see how it's done. I've also made another colour, which is this colour here. You can choose whatever colour you like. You can have dark colours, light colours, colours to match your decor in your kitchen. And around the edging of this coaster, I've managed to incorporate the crochet into the fabric, and I'm going to show you today how to do that. Okay, so for this project you're going to need some yarn. Now this yarn is a cotton, it's a cotton based yarn, and it's Peyton's 100% cotton DK. Don't know if you can see that. This one's in a different colour, which goes with the coaster I made in this colour. But if you want the white one, you can. This comes in white as well. It comes in various colours. So this one here, I'm using today with this one, not what's on the label, the hook size. I'm going to use a different size hook just to give it a more tighter, smaller kind of look. So this colour here is, that's if you wanted this shade. It is 02714 218 46 520. So that's the colour, if you can see there, if you want to note it down, if you like this colour. I'm using the white today because I'm going to show you how to make this one for the tutorial purpose. So for this project, what else you're going to need is, you're going to need I'll show you what you need for this. Right, so you're going to need some pins because you're going to start to pin the fabric together, and you can sew this together, the fabric underneath, by hand or by machine. I'm going to do it by machine today, but you can do it by hand, it's very simple. So for this you're going to need I'm going to need some fabric, any colour choice you like. This is a 5 by 5 inch fabric, and you're going to need some felting fabric. That's felt, 2 pieces of that. Now this is 5 by 5. Just measure that, 5 by 5 inches. You can see that's 5, and then 5 across. Right, and the felt is going to be about an inch smaller than the fabric. You need it an inch smaller so that you can, but this is just to give it sturdiness for the coaster. So you're going to need it an inch smaller so that you can work round the edges for the crochet. So you're going to need that one to be about 4 inches. 4 inches both ways. You can see that. Right, so that's the fabric that you're going to need, any colour. These are swatches I bought already sized up, but you can cut your own, so you can make them bigger or smaller, it's up to you really, but for this purpose it's going to be 5 by 5 inches. So the next thing you're going to need is a air erasable pen, fine tip pen. Don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit, there you go. And it's also removed by soapy water, but this actually disappears within, I think, 48 hours, so you won't see it anyway on your fabric, especially if it's a light colour fabric. And it's a fine tip because you're going to make holes for the crochet to go into the sides of the coaster. So that's what you're going to need. You're going to need one of those, and you're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a needle, you can see that, and that's to tie in your ends. And you're going to need a 2.5 millimeter hook. You see that? That's 2.5 millimeter hook. I'm going to go for a smaller hook for this pattern to give it a more tighter sort of crochet edging. And we're going to need a oops, that's the lid come off, but it's called a hole puncher for fabric. This one's a clover one, but you can get any one, and it's extremely sharp. Be careful with this one. But this one here is to punch holes into the fabric. Obviously, if you're under a certain age, I would get someone to do that for you, but be very careful because it is very sharp, but it's for punching holes in fabrics. So that one, you're going to need one of those as well. Okay, so you've got all your equipment ready, and let's get started. I'm going to show you what to do first. Okay, so let's just put this aside. Let's move this out of the way. Right, you're going to also need pins. I think I mentioned that, but so you'll need pins, tacking pins, or anything for tacking that you normally use if you do sewing. Now, to start this project, you're going to do the because this felting is going to go into the 2 layers. I'll explain how it's going to go before we do the rest. So if we open this up like that and put the wrong sides in front. Okay, so we're going to put the felting is going to go in the center of the fabric, about there, just right in the bang in the center. Oops, let's get that nice and straight. So you've got it in the middle. Then you put the fabric on the top, like so. So that's going to be giving it the more sort of firmness and protection for your your furniture with the coaster. So we are going to sew round the edging first, either by hand or by machine. You can sew it by machine, it's quicker, but if you haven't got a machine, you can always do it by hand. It's very simple. So any stitching will be fine, because that's going to be covered up anyway. So you can just do basic hand stitching or anything really, because it's going to be covered up by the crochet anyway. So for this part, we're going to just take out the felting first, and I'm going to put the 2 bits of fabric together like so. Just even them up together perfectly well, and then for this bit we're going to mark the holes that are about to be punched, because we're going to use this to punch the holes, so that we can crochet quite easily into the fabric, because this type of fabric you can't put in the hook straight in. Is a bit of a tug of war basically, so you need something to ease it. So to make holes in it would be easier, I find, especially in this kind of cotton fabric. Some fabrics you can actually crochet into straight, but this cotton fabric, I won't be able to do that, so I'm gonna mark some holes into this fabric. So if I just put that there, so for this bit, because we're gonna if I grab the coaster, you can see there are corner slots. Okay, so you need to make corner holes first, because we're going to have corner bits there. So for this, we're going to basically just put 4 holes in each corner, and then we're going to mark across here, across here, and across here, and across here, all sides. And I've put about, I think I've put 13 holes in between the corner holes. They're not counted as the in-between bits, so you just count 13 in between, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So let's pop that aside. Right, so for this one, you're going to, let's just open that up. Right, I'm going to start with just marking the corners first. You might not be able to see some of the corners because of the pattern on the fabric, but if you've got a plain fabric you can see it better. So I'm just going to mark them and make them a bit bigger so I can see them. Anywhere near the corner, about 1/2 inch kind of away from the edge of the fabric. So for this bit we're going to just mark the corners. There you go. So we've marked all the corners. Okay, so that's 4 corners marked. You might not be able to see them as well, but I'm just going to do them a bit darker. You can use a thicker tipped felt marker if you wanted to. I just happen to have this thinner one. So I got my 4 corners marked. Now I'm going to mark the center of each side. So I'm going to put a blob in the center just there, and a blob. You could just you can measure it out if you want to measure it out, but I like to do it freehand if you know roughly. It doesn't have to be precise. So I'm going to put another one there and another one just there and another one just there, I think. Now you don't want to go too far off the edge, because when you punch the holes in you don't want to sort of tear the fabric. So just about 1/2 inch away from the edging I'm doing the holes. So just going to mark that again properly so it's visible. And this side. So there we are. We've got the 4 corners, we've got the blobs in the center of each edge, and we're going to do now we're going to do 6 dots in between each of these spaces. Okay, so you've got 6 on that side, 6 on that side, excluding these dots that are already there, because we're going to need 13 holes across. So even as even as you can. You might need a tape measure for this to even them out, but I'm going to just do it freehand. It's not really important how, I mean, try and get them as evenly as possible, so when you do your crochet stitches, they'll look even. So excluding that one, I'm going to count 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Try to get them evenly as possible. Just going over them slightly more so I can see them better. Some fabrics you can see it, and some, I mean, as I said, this does fade out after 48 hours, this particular pen. You can use anything you want really to mark it, or you can do it without marking it. You can make the holes, if you're very confident in making the holes, you can forget about the marking it bit, but I like to mark them, and this does dissolve. So just counting this one up, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, there we go, that's the 4th one, 5, 6. I'll do another one so you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put them 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as you see, you've got them all sort of quite evenly spread out. You need even spaces between each. So what you do is do the next 2 sides exactly the same as what I've just showed you, and I'll meet you back when you finish doing that. Okay, now that you've done your holes all the way around your fabric, we're going to sew the edging. Okay, we're going to sew the edging, and you're going to use you're going to have to sew very close to the edge, away from the dots, so over the other side of the dots. Now, like I said, you can do this by machine or you can do this by hand. It's up to you. If you're good at sewing by hand, then I recommend by hand. But before you sew, open up the 2 sides of the fabric, and you're going to put your felting cloth, the 2 layers of this, into the fabric just there. Right, just put it in the middle, and you're going to close it off with the other fabric on top. Okay, so for this bit, we're going to make sure that your felt is you need to have it sort of right in the middle, so you've got the edging. Just show you what to do. Hold on a minute. Let's put this in the middle equally, because the felt's not going to be sewn with the fabric, it's going to remain in the middle, and we're sewing the edges. So if I put that on top just like that, and make sure it's very, very accurately laid on top. So you've got, oops, let's try and do it. That's better. There you go. Now that you've got that on top, it's like a sandwich. You've made yourself a little sandwich there. You're going to tack the edges. So for this bit, we're going to take our pins and just tack the edges just above the felt. You can feel the felt underneath, and you need to put that just above the felting, so it just grabs the fabric, because we're not going to sew the felt into the fabric. We're just gonna, we need that bit so we can put our crochet hook in. Okay, the edges. So let's just go all the way around and tack it. Put my pins all the way around. There we go. And just that bit there. There we are. So you've got it all tacked now. Now what you got to do is you either hand sew it close to the edge or machine sew it close to the edge, trying to avoid the dots, just to get a very sort of close to the edge stitching. And I'm going to go and machine sew mine, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Okay everybody, so now that you've sewed your edges, I've done mine by machine, as you can see. Just literally, you can see how close to the edge I've actually sewn the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be hidden, but it's very close to the edges, as you can see, very close to the edge. So if you do it by hand, you can either do like a tacking kind of stitch, just little tiny stitches all the way around the edging, or you can do like an overlocking stitch, you know, with by hand. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, as long because it's going to be hidden anyway. So now I'm going to show you how to punch the holes into the fabric. And now that you've got your hole puncher ready, we're going to start by punching holes into the corners first. So go straight into your fabric, into the hole, and poke through, but try and make the hole big enough, because you may struggle afterwards to get the hook into the fabric. So I've made the hole pretty big, as you can see. I've put pretty much the whole hole puncher through the fabric. So I'm going to go in again to the second hole. Be careful of your fingers on the other side. So you may need to punch them through again as you're crocheting if they do close up, because sometimes they do close up, these holes, as you, because the fabric, this type of fabric does close up the hole sometimes a little bit, but that's fine as long as you've got a hole, as you can see, big enough. Go through, you can go in it again if you have to. Just going to go in it again just to make sure those holes are indeed big enough. There we go. And then the next one, you're going to go all along each hole that you see that you've marked, all the holes that you've marked. You know, as you can see, they're quite even, pretty even. So I'm pretty much putting the whole hook in, almost, not quite, but almost the full hook in. I mean, sorry, hook, poker, hole puncher or poker, whatever you want to call it. So I'm almost putting the whole thing in. I'm so used to saying hook that I'm calling this a hook. So yeah, so you've got your holes and then the very end one as well. There you go. So you can see the holes there, and continue going all the way around. Very good. It's very handy, this tool, if you're doing crochet edgings. It'd be good. It's good to use this because it makes life easier for your hook to enter the fabric. Yeah, makes it a lot easier. So as you can see, I'm just poking through again just to make sure the holes are big enough for the hook to go through, so I won't be struggling later on. But if you do find you're struggling, you can't get your hook in, you just get your hole puncher again and just stick your hook back in so you can open up that hole again. So just keep poking your holes into the fabric. There we go. Okay, so you know how to do that, so go ahead and do the rest of your edging and I'll meet you back after you've done that. Okay, now you've done your holes all the way round. As you can see, all the holes are done. We're going to start crocheting. This is the fun part. So with your 2.5mm hook, you need to start somewhere in the middle. So you could start like hold on a second, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2, so yeah, in the middle, anywhere in the middle. So I'm going to start there and I'm going to bring my crochet thread through, and it is better to have cotton thread because it just makes the whole thing look much better with cotton thread. So I'm going to, I've got my yarn all the way coming through the hole there, and I'm going to chain 2, 1 2. You can do an extra chain if you feel like you want to tighten it up. So I've done an extra one. It doesn't make a difference. Now I'm going to go into the second hole in the fabric. Let's just make sure there you go. So you're going to put your hook into the second hole and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through that's a single crochet, and then chain 1. So basically what you're going to do all the way, you're going to do a single crochet into every hole that you see until we get to the last hole at the edge. I'll show you what to do. So, and then we're going to chain 1 in between each single crochet. So we're going to go into the next hole. You see how easier it is when you've punched the holes into the fabric. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet and chain 1, single crochet and chain 1. So as you can see, you've got them sort of like a nice edging coming on. So into the next one, single crochet, pull up the thread a little bit looser so it's not pulling on the fabric, and chain 1, single crochet and chain 1. So now you come to the edge corner bit, and for this bit we're going to go into that corner hole, pull up a loop, and we're going to do a single crochet and chain 2, 1, 2 into the same hole again. You put your crochet hook, pull up a loop and single crochet. So you've made your first corner. Then chain 1, because you chain 1 between each stitch, and into the next hole, pull up a loop, single crochet and chain 1. Next one, single crochet, chain 1. Oops. Next one, single crochet and chain 1. You might have to go a bit firm in some of the holes of the fabric. Just poke your hook in and it's fine, you'll go through. So that's single crochet, chain 1. So you've now got your corner, perfect corner, and keep going all the way around until you get to the other corner. So I'm going to just single crochet and chain 1, single crochet and chain 1. If you find the holes are closing up, you can always poke your poker through again like this in the middle of your, if you find that the holes are closing up, because sometimes certain fabrics do that. There you go. So you've got your holes opened up again, and that's single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. Don't forget to chain the one between, stops the fabric from pulling. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and into the corner one, single crochet, chain 2. So the corners are chain 2 in between, and then so single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1 again, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. Oops, I'm just going to show you briefly what it looks like so far. So far, don't worry if it puckers up a little bit. You can always iron it if you fancy it to be more flat at the end, at the very end. But basically that's how you do the edging. So I want carry on with the rest of it, and when you get to the end I'll show you what to do. Okay, welcome back, and we've come to the end of all 4 corners and 4 sides, and I'm going to do my last single crochet. So I'm put my hook in there and do my last single crochet and a chain 1, and I'm going to sort of join up just through this first single crochet here and do a slip stitch. There we go. So you've got your, if I show you the 4 corners, just pull it a little bit. If it seems a bit tight, just pull your corners and you get it quite flat again. There you go. So that's the start of your next row. Okay, next row is going to be literally single crochets all the way around before we do the sort of scalloped or shell edging. So next stage is, just put my hook back in Okay, so we're going to do a chain 1, okay, and in each of these spaces, and I'll show you which ones in a minute, we're going to do a single crochet. So into this first one here, single crochet. Now in between where the chains are, where you made the chains, if you can see where you made all the chains in between each single crochet, we're going to put a stitch there as well. So in between there, the chain 1 space, single crochet, into this single crochet, into the chain space, single crochet, into the single crochet, into the chain space, single crochet. So you've literally going into every single space to make that a very nice sort of tight border, as you can see. So anyway, for the next bit, we're going to get to the corner and I'll show you what to do. So I'm going to do my single crochets all along this bit. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. And when you come to this bit, we're going to do a, you can either do, it depends how you want your corner. If you want a sharp corner, if you want a rounded corner, you can go into this space here and do a single crochet, and then you can single crochet into that corner space there, the chain 2 space. You can single crochet there and do a chain 2 and go back into that space and do another single crochet. So you've got a sharp corner. And I'll just show you again what to do next. So so you can have a sharp corner if you want, or what you can do is, if you don't want a sharp corner and you want it a little bit more rounded, you can do this. Instead of going into this last chain space, you can go straight into the and do a chain 2 and then a single crochet. So you've got more of a sort of a different sort of shape, but I'm going to go for the one that I showed you previously, into every space and make it a sharper corner. So that's 1 chain 2, 1 single crochet, into the next space, 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 single crochet. Keep going until you get to the other corner and I will show you what to do. So let's just do this side, into that single crochet, into the next space, single crochet, and into the next space. Make sure you don't miss any of these stitches, because it just looks much better when it's all every single stitch is worked into. Okay, so we're nearing the corner in a second, and into the last chain space, and then we come to the corner, and in the corner, as you can see here where you made your corner, you're going to do a single crochet into the chain 2 space in that corner, single crochet, and then chain 2, and then back into the same chain 2 space with a single crochet. Okay, and then back to the other side and keep going until you reach all sides and all corners. of the square. I'm just going to show you those 2 corners that I've made. There you go, pretty nice shaped corners. So when you get to the other side, this side, I'll meet you there and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now that you've done your edging, your single crochet all the way around, your single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the corners. You've come to the other end, and I'm going to show you how to finish off this round. So I'm going to do my last 2 single crochets. That's 1, 2, and I'm going to slip stitch in the top of this first single crochet, so you've got a nice neat border there. Okay, don't worry if it's crumpled up a little bit, you can always iron it or stretch it at the very end. So at this stage it's perfectly okay. So I'll put my hook back in and I'll show you how to do the escalope, or scallops I should say, not escalopes, edging. That way you can see how it's all done around the corners and everything. So for this bit we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now into this next stitch here we're going to yarn over, and we're going to do an American, it's a USA double crochet into the next stitch. So that's a double crochet. That's 1. We're going to do 4 of those into the same stitch. So that's the first one. So that's 1, yarn over, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, 4 double crochet. So 4 double crochets into that same stitch there. Okay, so now for the next bit we're going to pin this down, so we need to skip a stitch and do a slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch through. So you've got your first shell or scalloped edge. So for the next bit we're going to yarn over, okay, and into the next stitch, this stitch here, we're going to do 4 double crochets again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oops. So that's 4. Now we're going to skip a stitch, and into the next stitch we're going to do a slip stitch. So skip that stitch there, and into the next one, slip stitch. Yarn over again, into the next stitch we're going to do 4 double crochets. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's 3, and we need 1 more double crochet. So make sure you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to skip the stitch again, and into the next one we're going to slip stitch. Into the next stitch we're going to do 4 again, 4 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now skip a stitch and into the next one, slip stitch, yarn over, and into the next stitch we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 double crochets. Okay, so now we're going to go straight into the corner here. We're going to do a slip stitch into that chain 2 corner bit there. So make sure you got the right bit there. So if you just separate everything, you can see the chain 2 corner. So we're going to do a slip stitch into there. Oops. Just into there, a slip stitch. So you've pinned down that corner bit. Now yarn over and into the next stitch, which is here, yarn over into the next stitch, which is just here, we're going to do a 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you've got your corner there, as you can see. Okay, so now we're going to pin that down, so skip a stitch and into the next one slip stitch. Okay, so now let's go into the next stitch with a 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, now skip a stitch again and slip stitch into the next. So okay, so next one you go into yarn over and into the next stitch you do 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then skip a stitch and slip stitch into the next one. Okay, so I'm going to let you go down to the end, and when you get just before you get to do your last shell, I'm going to show you how to do that one into the corner and everything. So just pause the video and I'll meet you at the corner. So I'm at my last shell here and I'm going to now slip stitch into the corner. So I mean, don't worry too much if everything doesn't sit right on each corner, but if you can get the corners to be sort of matching, that would be great. That even if it means skipping a stitch or so, but sometimes it works quite well. Sometimes you don't have to skip a stitch, but if you find that it is not matching too much, because you want every corner to sort of relatively match, you know. So for this bit I'm going to slip stitch into the corner bit, which is the chain 2 space into the last round, and that's just there. Hold on a second, let's have a look. Yes, it's just there. So I'm going to slip stitch into that one. So I've made my corner. Now yarn over and we're going to go into the next space, which is just here, next stitch, and we're going to do 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, and then skip a stitch and slip stitch into the next one. Okay, so yarn over and in the next stitch 4 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip a stitch, slip stitch into the next one, yarn over and 4 double crochets into the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, sorry. Okay, skip a stitch and slip stitch into the next one, yarn over into the next stitch, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now we're going to skip a stitch and slip stitch into the next one, yarn over into the next one, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. So continue all along until you get to the corner, and I'll show you how to make this corner. Okay, so we've reached the other corner, and for this bit, if you find that your last shell is not sitting nicely towards the edge, you can skip a stitch after the last shell if you want, just to sort of balance it out, because I think if I put one in here it's going to be too far away from the edge. So just use your sort of discretion on where you can put your last stitch at least. For this one I'm going to skip a stitch here just to get it closer to the edge. So yarn over, I'm just going to skip that one, and I'm going to do 4 double crochets into that stitch. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that brings it into the corner, if you can see. And then of course there's a skip stitch there which you normally have, and then you're going to go into this chain 2 space with a slip stitch. So you've got your shell, you know, in the place that you want it to be. You can play around and just see how you want it, but that's how I do it. Now for the next one you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go into the next stitch and do 4. Oops. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Skip a stitch here, and into the next one a slip stitch. Okay, so work along and I'll meet you at the last corner and show you how to finish off this last round. Okay, so we've come to the end of the last round, and for this I'm going to do my last shell. Now you can work out if your shell is not going to look good, you know, by doing the usual things, skipping the stitch, you can always go over another stitch. So I'm going to show you what to do here. So basically I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to skip that one which I normally go into. I'm going to skip it, so I'm going to bring it closer to this one, this shell here. So you can play around with it. You can do it in the next stitch if you want, or you can do it, skip a stitch and go. It depends, you know, have a look at your, you know, how it looks, and so far it looks good. So for the last shell to fit in nicely, I'm going to just yarn over, skip a stitch and into the next one. So that's 4 double crochets. Oops. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 double crochets into there, and now we're going to slip stitch into the last. You can either slip stitch into there, which again it looks pretty good, or you can slip stitch into the space of the chain 2 that you did at the very beginning, into that space there, which gives it more of a solid, there you go, shell. There you go, that looks much better. So it's all up, it's up to you really how you want it to look, but I find that that's a better finish if you do it that way. So I'm going to just cut the yarn and tie in and cut the yarn. Just pull through and cut the yarn off. There we go. Now I'm just going to pull that tight. There you go. So you've got your shells are quite joined up together, and you've got very little threads. You just have to tie in the last 2 threads at the very end. So I'm going to get my needle, and I'm going to start with this thread here. So to do this, you just thread your needle through and just find the stitches and just sew behind all the stitches that you find, just to hide it away. You can go into the shell edging. Let's cut that off, and again into the next one. Okay, so now just to neaten it off, I'm going to bring this yarn into the back like this, so you wouldn't see the join of the two last shells. Give that a bit of a tug and sew your ends in. Okay, so you're going to just trim that off. And there you have it. There you have your coaster. And so I'm going to put a cup on there so you can see what it looks like. So that's your coaster. And your cup. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you liked this tutorial, please like and subscribe, and for more of my videos, hit the notification bell where you can see more of my videos. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye.